This is the pituitary gland. Anterior pituitary or adrenal hypophysis is over here. And the neural hypophysis or posterior pituitary is over there. It's really easy to discern between those. There's the dividing line between them. Because when you look at the anterior pituitary, you see blood vessels everywhere. And when we go to higher power, you can see red, it goes to red blood cells in them. And then we just have clusters of cells sitting there. And most of them have kind of a spheroidal-looking nucleus. But you can see that it goes to red blood cells present in here and there. And then, kind of a circular nucleus there, and another one here, and another here. And they're all just kind of scattered around amongst all these blood vessels. And they're producing the hormones. They're going to go out to glands and stimulate the glands. Now, if we go across the way over to the neurohypophysis or posterior pituitary, we don't really see any blood vessels, certainly not the scattering that we saw across the way. And we have nuclei that are very elongated, like this one and that one up there, and another couple here. And those are hallmarks of connective tissue. So there's a lot of connective tissue here. Ends of axons, we don't see any of the ends of axons. And you don't see the blood vessels, you don't have the nice clustering of cells like we did on the previous one. Then we have parathyroid. Parathyroid produces parathyroid hormone from chief cells, and it has two different kinds of cells, chief cells and oxyphils. Chief cells have a large circular nucleus and very clear cytoplasm. They're making the hormone. Oxyphils have a pink-stained cytoplasm, and it's unknown what they do. Now, when we look at this like this, so the chief cells are pretty obvious. I mean, any places where you see this clear-looking cytoplasm, you've got a large nucleus present there. Those are the chief cells. But you also have pink in here, and the pink is from hemoglobin in red blood cells, because the red blood cells don't have a nucleus. So that's pretty obvious. And you'll see every now and then a cell that looks like it has pink cytoplasm to it, but there's a whole nest of these oxyphils sitting right over here. Right along the edge, you have a whole bunch of them. There's a chief cell right there, and another one here, and another one here. But you have a whole bunch of these oxyphils. So we can discern between those based on the coloration of the cytoplasm and the size of the nucleus. Then we have the thyroid gland. And we're going to have three different structures that we see here. The follicle is that circular-looking thing that we see. So that's like a follicle, and it's made up of a simple cuboidal epithelium. The cells are not as tall as they are wide, and they have a nice spherical nucleus. So the whole thing is a follicle. One structure there is a follicular cell, and the stuff that's in the center is the colloid that is being made by that. It's being made by that follicle, by those cuboidal follicular cells. And so you can see the circular-looking nuclei. So there's another one over here, pretty obvious. One cell layer thick, colloids to the center, so the whole thing is a follicle. One of those is a cuboidal follicular cell, or just follicular cell, and that stuff is the colloid. We actually do see some parafollicular cells here, but I had crossed it out before because in the sample that I had, I couldn't really discern any readily, so I said, forget this. And then this is pancreas. We started talking about pancreas. We're going to see an animation on pancreas momentarily. Most of what you see in the pancreas is the exocrine pancreas around the outside, and that's where it's making digestive enzymes and dumping them into ducts that are going to go into your small intestine. That is a pancreatic islet. And of course, if we look back there, we see something else that's light in Spain here because of the connective tissue, but those are blood vessels and ducts that are running there. That's the pancreatic islet, and it's making the hormones that we talked about in the lecture today. And you see it's distinctively lighter in stain than the acinar cells. Acinar cells that make the enzymes are all around, and that's the pancreatic islet. We can't discern the specific types of cells present there because they don't have any, kind of unique anatomical characteristics. And then this is the adrenal gland that we talked about today. The capsule around the outside is here. And then you have the cortex made up of 3 zones. It's light staining because they make corticosteroids and they've all been extracted. And then this is the medulla, and the cells there make epinephrine and norepinephrine. And thus they're dark staining. And the last one this is the pineal gland. Nothing unique anatomically as we look at it. The pineal sites are relatively small and nondescript. It functions in us until we're a child, somewhere in the 5 to 7, 8-year-old range, and it makes melatonin. But when the cells undergo a degeneration, they produce a waste material that we can readily see, and it's called brain sand. That's what this is. Okay, so now I'm going to do these